content is king. I don't believe that you can produce too much content because there's all these filters and things like that. And if you put enough out there, more people will see it. Welcome to the Matt Laricy Project. This is a show about all things real estate, business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Each show consists of myself, Matt Laricy, a member of my team, and a guest. This week, the Matt Laricy Group team member joining us is Matt Piazza. Matt, how are we doing today?
Very good, very good.
All right, we're talking about why small business matters, and today we have Elliot Richardson. Elliot, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Elliot, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the SBAC?
Well, I'm an attorney. So I started a practice maybe when I was 28, 29 years old, built up that practice. Did get quite frustrated with lip service that went to small businesses by folks in the political spectrum.
Yeah.
So at some point, I decided to run for office. I didn't prevail in my race, but what I did get was a great group of folks from both sides of the aisle that were really, really supportive of the small business community.
Which office did you run for?
I ran for U.S. Congress in the 10th District. And after that happened, we just started going out for breakfast, for lunch, not getting together necessarily for the purpose of networking, but getting together for the purpose of talking about how to make the state of Illinois a better place. Business connections happened in the interim, but that's really how the SBAC started. It was not a preconceived plan.
Yeah.
We didn't have a blueprint. We just started talking and getting together, and here we are 9 years later. We've got a wonderful staff. We've got incredible volunteers. We've got really, really robust coalitions, and it's good. We're making a difference.
How many people total you guys got now working at the SBAC?
We have 4 or 5 full-time staff members right now. Some of us, some folks are not paid. So our CEO and myself, we're unpaid. I do something different as well. But we've got, let me see, I think we've got 4 full-time staff members right now.
Wow. And what does the SBAC stand for?
The Small Business Advocacy Council.
And so where's the, how far have you come since you started? Like, what has kind of kept you guys afloat and kept this thing kind of moving here?
Well, there's lots of ways to answer that question, and you can measure how far we've come by, have we been able to influence the political arena? Have we been able to pass legislation? The answers to both of those things are yes. We are a membership organization, so we have members, but then we have coalition partners, and our strength comes from our critical mass. So small businesses might not have the money that large companies have. They may not have lobbyists down in Springfield, individual small businesses. So what we do is we aggregate folks. We find nonpartisan issues. We are stringently nonpartisan. We're common sense problem solvers, and then we push the ball down the center of the field.
So you guys are kind of fighting for the little guys.
We are. We're fighting for small business. However, and small businesses are defined in many different ways. And we also have large companies that support our efforts to fight for small businesses. And we've really created this community, this ecosystem. But when you look at our legislation and the things that we've done, we do several different things. We focus on economic development. We focus on legislation that's laser focused on empowering small and mid-sized businesses.
Right.
And then we also push pieces of legislation and initiatives that will make Illinois and Chicago a better place for everybody to own, operate, and be involved with a small business.
So how do people get involved, and what type of opportunities are there to get involved with the SBAC?
Oh, there's so many different opportunities. I mean, we have members. We have people join our policy committee.
Yeah.
We have a steering committee, which is a subset of our policy committee that helps us to create the policy initiatives that we're going to try to move forward. We have a membership committee. We have events all over the city and the suburbs. We have pitch events that we do. So we have a pitch committee. We have a board of directors. We have folks who connect us with our different local business organizations and coalition partners. There is no lack of opportunity to get involved if people want to do that.
Wow. Okay. So what about business trends? What type of business trends are you seeing in the state of Illinois right now?
Business trends, outside of the advocacy realm, unemployment is low.
Which is a good thing, right?
It is a good thing. For small businesses, it creates challenges at times in terms of finding talent.
Yeah.
We have legislation that's meant to address some of those issues. But yeah, business is good. in Illinois, there tends to be this circular firing squad that can be created where, politicians are denigrating the state and one another. We believe that Illinois is a fantastic place, that Chicago is a great place to own and operate a business. And, our philosophy is let's all together grow ourselves out of some of the issues that are facing the state.
Has the new mayor affected anything with kind of like the business at all so far?
Well, she's very new. What I can tell you is the SBAC was very engaged in the mayoral race. And we had Mayor Lightfoot at the forum that we did, and then we had a town hall with her at WeWork, which was really well attended. And I had the opportunity to serve on her Good Governance Transition Committee. And a lot of the things that she's talking about doing, like ending aldermanic prerogative, taking administrative functions out of the purview of city council.
Yeah.
It's all really good stuff. And there's practical reasons I could give you why that matters.
So you were a big advocate of her getting elected. Is that correct? Or
well,
were
no.
you...
What I could say is I was very positive about Mayor Lightfoot during the campaign.
Okay.
There were other candidates that also presented quite well. We didn't endorse. That's not what the SBAC can do.
Right.
I'm very, very excited and optimistic about the things that have happened since her election. And some of these first steps that she's taken have been great. I will tell you, our members were very receptive to her.
What are some of the first steps that you think are going to be good for small businesses?
Well, so ending aldermanic prerogative. I was there when she signed her first executive order.
For a lot of people that don't know what that means, maybe you can elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so, right now, you've heard a lot about aldermen having too much control.
Yeah, they can pretty much dictate anything.
Sure, and that can have a really detrimental impact on a particular business, right? So if an alderman wants to hold up somebody getting a sign permit or somebody getting a different type of permit on an individual business, that's been a huge problem. So the first executive order that she signed seeks to end that and gives the different departments at the city of Chicago a certain amount of time, 60 days, I believe, to come in and say, how's aldermanic prerogative affecting us? And then we got to change it. We're advocating for things like right now, if we're in Chicago, if you look around, you'll see a lot of very simple signs, right? Saying, hello, we're open for business, so on and so forth. You need to get a city council approval. The full city council needs to approve a public way use permit for that little sign. Right? Non-electronic, extending less than an inch over the public way. We'd like to see that end. And we had an ordinance to do that before. We had 38 co-sponsors on that ordinance. Okay. It didn't get passed. It got hung up in committee. There was a compromise which shaved the ridiculous amount of time it took to get a permit for a new business that needs customers. But now the point is to let's just eliminate city council involvement in what is an administrative process.
So essentially take off some of the red tape, make it a little bit easier.
Yes. The red tape and the ability for one individual to impact the fate of a small business.
Huh. What about so she's trying to help stop the alderman. Is there anything else that's big that the SBAC is kind of in favor of that she's already kind of talking about? Well,
we've done some other things on the city level, and we do a lot on the state level. Right now, if you get a business violation until last year, even if it was for like an expired business license, you couldn't just pay it in the city of Chicago. You had to hire an attorney and go to an administrative hearing, even if you just wanted to pay.
Was it a state-backed attorney?
Was it what?
Like if you had to hire an attorney, was it a state-backed attorney that you had to hire?
No,
I'm just wondering if they were trying to make some money off that.
No.
Like a good system.
You have to use our attorneys.
You have to use one of these attorneys from this list?
No, it's just antiquated. And when you think about a small business owner, taking a day off of work and going down and going to an administrative hearing, it's really detrimental.
It's like
to the
wanting to pay
business.
parking tickets and be like, no, you got to meet us from 9 to noon and we'll talk about it.
Right. So we've already started the process. 10 violations are now exempt from that process, and we'd like to see that grow significantly. These are all things that are revenue neutral, that will help small businesses prosper in the city of Chicago, and we want that, and we want our neighborhood businesses to prosper.
Well, are people wanting to do, all you keep reading about in the news is that people are, businesses are going to leave the city because of taxes and, it's unfavorable conditions in the city. And, if you turn on the news, it's doom and gloom for Chicago and the state's bankrupt and stuff like that.
Yes, that's what you hear.
Do you strongly agree with that, disagree with that?
So what I believe is that, first and foremost, Illinois and the city of Chicago have a tremendous amount to offer.
Yeah.
And Mark Peterson from Intersect Illinois does a fantastic job of talking about that. So the first thing we need to do is to start marketing Illinois and not denigrating Illinois. I mean, Indiana's done that very well for us. If you used to drive on the highways and see the Illinois signs, you can thank our neighbors for that.
Yeah.
We don't need to contribute
Right.
to the perception that Illinois is a bad place to own and operate a business. Illinois has structural issues. There's no doubt about it. It has fiscal problems. There's no doubt about it. Our philosophy is let's work together and grow our way out of that. So that's the first thing. Now, there's a lot going on statewide. On Monday, the progressive income tax amendment.
That Pritzker to get them, start taxing people even more?
Well, what it is it will actually put on the ballot a measure that would allow the state to have a progressive income tax. It will not bake out the rates, but it will allow for a progressive income tax. Now, the voters will now choose, which is problematic in some ways in that we have things we want to put on the ballot, like fair maps. Let's put an end to gerrymandering.
Yeah.
They won't let that get onto the ballot right now, even though we have enough Senate sponsors to put it there. But so the income tax issue is going to go onto the ballot.
What's your position on that? Like, do you guys think that's a good thing for the small businesses, or?
So what we're doing right now is we're investigating everything. So there's a lot that goes into this, and our members feel passionately. Both ways, but we're a nonpartisan organization. We want to be the problem solver sitting at the table, trying to bridge the gap. So something that should be very interesting to you guys is property taxes. Right?
Property taxes are terrible.
Okay, so
they are. It's one of the biggest things that people talk about is property taxes.
Well, I have to imagine as a successful real estate company who's trying to sell houses in Cook and Lake County, that property taxes are a big issue.
It is,
and people ask about it. So, one of the issues on the income taxes is property tax relief going to be baked into a progressive income tax? Big question right now. There's a proposal to eliminate the estate tax. If you pass a progressive income tax, we got to see where that all falls out. Where's the money going to be spent? There are a lot of folks that I know who are conservative, who would say, listen, would I pay a little bit more in taxes if I knew that would go to tackle our pension debt and to really put this state on a better footing for my business and my families? Yes. But do we know how we're going to be assured that money goes to the right places? There's so much that needs to be baked into the cake.
I think that's the biggest problem is that, we're taking a lot of ideas from New York, because that's where they graduated, and then the mansion tax that they were talking about being passed, which is, New York said, their mayor was like, hey, we tax the rich, and that didn't work, and they all left. And now what are we going to do from here to fix our problems, And I feel like maybe Chicago's trying to go down that path that it could be a problem because you're seeing the wealthy leave the city more than they have in the past. And, it is because of these graduate taxes and the property taxes, so it is a little bit scary on our front in our business. But I think probably the biggest problem with the income tax or with the property taxes is that there's no set way of how the taxes are calculated. Like, this is the big question. So we do a lot of international and out-of-state business. So a lot of times people are like, okay, well, how are taxes paid? We're like, well, they're paid, last year's taxes are paid this year. And then they're like, well, how's that number get formulated? Like, well, they take the size of the building that they have on file to the age to the last sales around there, and then they put in like this equalizer and it pumps out a number, and that's the taxes. And people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I think that's the big problem.
Why is unit 904 different than 906?
Yeah, and they're the same unit, and they're $2,000 different. And for some unknown reason, I don't know why, but unlike every other civilized city in the world, we don't have a percentage. Like, we were like, hey, Chicago's 2% of the property tax. That's it. You sell a place, it's 2%. I think people wouldn't care as much. Because because people would know. I think it's the unknown of like, well, next year I don't know what's going to be. It's all up in the air.
Right.
Like,
and when you're buying a place, you're like, well, we need a tax proration of at least 110 to 125% because I have no idea what the taxes are going to be, and the last thing I want to do is come out of pocket for a place that I wasn't living in at the time.
Have you heard anything about that? Like why they never decided to do a percentage of it? Like it makes no sense.
I haven't. What I do know is that there's a consistent refrain that comes out of Springfield that property taxes are very complicated because it's done on a local level. There's the state involvement in it. Bottom line is that raising the progressive, installing a progressive income tax, if it gets voted on by the citizens of Illinois, there's a lot of people that say you really need some property tax relief. And there's people that say, a lot of people, you need property tax relief anyways right now. I mean, our property taxes are extremely high, but it's all got to be done in a coherent, thoughtful manner. And then make sure that revenue that's created by the state flows and takes care of the structural problems and the fiscal issues that the state has. So that's so right now, I mean, this thing just got put onto the ballot on Monday. We are in the investigative stage. Our policy committee met yesterday. We're looking at all of it, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do. I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot of people on each side. People
are going to be very adamant about it. I mean, anytime you're talking about taking money out of people's pockets, I mean, 9% in some cases is a lot,
There's people that adamantly believe there's people that have deep feelings on both sides of this issue, and we already saw emails come out, fundraising emails come out on this. I mean, I would love to see this debate happen in a constructive manner. I'm not terribly optimistic that that's going to happen, but we're going to try to have a constructive conversation.
I think I don't know if it'll be constructive. I think it's going to be a lot of profanity and heated conversations. It's probably likely where it's going to go, but I agree. I mean, I can't say one way or the other what's right or what's wrong, but only time will tell what happened with it. What about like the we're in real estate and stuff like that. Do you have a lot of realtors involved with the SBAC and stuff?
We do at all different levels. And people are in the SBAC for an array of different reasons. So some are in the SBAC for very specific policy reasons. That's what drives them. That's what gets them in. We have real estate companies and realtors that are really looking to build their book of business through the SBAC.
Right.
We really say it's sort of networking with a cause. We also are very, very respectful of our chamber partners and want to make sure when we have joint events, we're trying to drive people into those chambers actually because the collective critical mass is so important for us. But we have a lot of real estate folks involved.
Do you notice any differences with realtors in Illinois through the SBAC terms compared to other states or anything at all like that? Is there any nuances or differences that you know of?
Not that I can really see.
Got it. What about last presidential election said to have created a larger divide in the country in terms of politics? Have you seen that impact the SBAC at all?
No.
No.
But we work very, very hard at it. Let me take that back. When President Trump was elected, I would say there was about a month period of time where I saw some divisiveness in the organization at events. I remember one specifically where there was some real divisiveness, and it bothered me because that doesn't help us move good policy forward. That doesn't help small business owners or entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Since that time, I think at least in the organization, we've pulled that back. And it is wonderful to see people from completely different sides of the political spectrum come together on issues that will help the small business community and work together on common sense solutions.
What about, usually presidential election years, which we're having coming up next year, tends to make the markets a little bit soft in general. Historically speaking, it's never, I shouldn't say it's never. Things are kind of a little bit, because you have a lot of uncertainty, Is the SBAC doing anything to help prevent some of the small businesses from not taking a hurt in 2020 or, the looming recession that people keep talking about, or have they talked about that at all?
All we can do is focus on economic development. So we have specific pieces of legislation. We were really we put together the drive to lower LLC fees in the state of Illinois, and we were successful, and Governor Rauner signed that into law. I believe it was last December December 2018. Right now we're pushing for occupational licensing reform, and licensing reform, it's ridiculous in the state of Illinois.
Right.
It really hurts entrepreneurs. There's a small business tax credit for companies under 50 that hire new employees. That was a remarkably successful program that expired in 2016. We want to bring that back and provide some tax relief to small businesses, not just very large businesses, with these extraordinary incentive packages that they get. So these are all things that we feel can help stimulate the economy. We have a federal student loan bill right now that will really level the playing field for small businesses and also help tackle the $1.5 trillion student debt crisis. We try to do it legislatively and through good policy.
What do you think, we talked about Lightfoot and stuff like that. Do you think Pritzker is going to be good for small businesses?
I think the verdict is out.
Yeah.
We went to Springfield. We met with the governor. We met with the lieutenant governor. We met with the Republican Senate Majority Leader. We'd like to see our legislation move. I think that will tell us a lot about where the governor is as it pertains to small businesses.
Yeah.
We hope that he's a partner in that respect.
Yeah. So, I once read a stat, I can't remember the exact numbers of it, but it said that there's like more small businesses, I can't remember on what percentage, than there are big businesses, out there. More people are employed by small businesses than big businesses. How important do you think it is for small businesses to, be a big driving factor for the economy?
Oh, small businesses drive the economy. If you don't believe me, turn on any Sunday talk show. And you'll hear politicians say we're the backbone of the economy, we're the engine that drives the economy. The success of small business is critical, whether it's a law firm, whether it's a neighborhood coffee shop, whatever it is. So we are often, unfortunately, forgotten because, again, we don't have the clout to hire the big lobbyists.
Right.
Sometimes the money isn't there, which means everybody needs to aggregate together if we want policies that are going to help the small business owner succeed and level the playing field.
So you've obviously seen a lot of small businesses get formed and survive. What's the best advice that you can give somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or a small business owner?
I would talk to a lot of people. I would get a lot of advice.
Gather the information.
Gather the information. Talk to entrepreneurs who have made it, entrepreneurs who have struggled and then made it. Because, it's a long game.
It is.
It's a long game, and you have to have the stamina.
You don't want to grow too fast and then have to pull back and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it is. What about, does the SBAC offer resources for these, new entrepreneurs or small business guys?
Well, we have a 501c3 called SBAC Empower.
Okay.
And that certainly provides mentoring. We're doing quite a bit right now on the south side and the west side in that respect. There's so many different resources that people just don't know about when it pertains to education and mentoring on starting a business. We can certainly help connect people to the right folks, whether it's an SBDC, whether or not it's another organization that provides practical advice to help folks succeed.
Is it, how do you juggle all these different personalities that you have from all these different small businesses? Because obviously it's different personalities, different types of businesses. Is there ever any problems, talking all these different aspects of people?
Sure, but you know what? The people that take leadership positions in the SBAC understand that there is more that brings small businesses and entrepreneurs together than divides us. So I often use the term, we run the ball right down the center of the field.
Right.
And I can't tell you that some people just don't stop running, because they do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, not everybody will be happy with every single policy position that we take. And that's okay. We can't make everybody happy. That's not our job.
Right.
We have to stay true to our mission.
Yeah. I say as a small business owner that it's funny that no matter what aspect of business people are in, that if you meet somebody else that does run a business, you guys kind of have something in common, and it's kind of easy to get along with them pretty quickly. Whether you have different opinions on whatever, I'd have to imagine the people that are in that room can all kind of relate to each other in some aspect. And then what about opportunities? Is there opportunities in Illinois that small businesses should be taking advantage of that maybe they don't know about?
Well, there are opportunities for funding that people can learn about. There's micro lenders. There's lots of things like that. There's programs through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. We bring people out, so we brought the treasurer out. And the former CEO of Intersect Illinois together to talk about different opportunities that were out there. I mean, there's a treasurer's investment fund. There's all different sorts of things that are out there. Again, problem for small businesses. It takes time. It takes time to figure it all out. And when you're trying to run your business and make payroll and actually do whatever it is that you do, like, sell houses, practice law, take care of your clients' accounting needs, whatever it is, sell coffee. You don't always have the time to find all those resources.
Is there some sort of big mistakes you're seeing some small business guys do right now that, like, you guys, it's a big problem that SBAC keeps talking about, or has everybody been, like, any things they should be taking advantage of?
Well, I can't say that I see particular mistakes that business owners are making repeat themselves. I think most small businesses, frankly, don't know all the resources that are out there.
And the best way to look at those is going to, like, SBAC and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, SBAC is a good... If we don't have the answer, we can point people in the direction of those that do. I mean, you don't want to wear too many hats.
Right.
But you want to know people who have a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And that's what we can help with.
That's a good aspect. Now, you mentioned some stuff about legislation and stuff like that. Is there any crazy stories you have of going down to Springfield and talking to these guys?
Probably the funniest story I've got is right when we started the organization. We were asked to testify at the small business committee at a small business committee hearing.
Okay.
It was like 6-7 years ago. I think we were trying to work on the LLC fee legislation. I'm not 100% sure what it was actually that we went down to testify about, but just to talk about small business. And we brought about 5 or 6 SBAC members down with us.
Right.
I happened to go down with my dad, just so we could spend some time in the car together and chat.
Yeah.
And we got down there, and the hearing was supposed to start. And we kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and we didn't understand what the problem was. And there were either closed caption TVs or somebody was able to figure it out, but we were put on hold because they were having a riveting debate on lion meat.
On lion meat?
Lion meat. And I actually wrote, it might have been in Cranes, it was in one of the publications, I wrote something on this. I think they were debating whether the legality of selling or eating lion meat. I mean, we don't have lions to hunt in Illinois, so it couldn't have been that. And it was a lion meat story that small business owners were put on hold because politicians were debating lion meat.
That's I don't even know where would they even get that?
They sell that. There's a place out in like
Homer
Orland
Glen?
Park,
Yeah.
by where you grew up that sells. I don't know if they've ever had problems or whatever, but I know it's like a live, like they sell game meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the.
Apparently they passed it.
Yeah.
There's lots of interesting stories. I don't know which way that legislation went. Frankly, I think they were trying to ban it. There's lots of interesting stories when you go down to Springfield. The key is not to turn something that's funny into something serious, but you just have to be persistent.
Right.
We've got this occupational licensing bill right now, which got through the Senate 55-0, and it's stalled in the House right now. And I can't figure out why it's stalled in the House. I'm upset that it's stalled in the House. It's not good for entrepreneurs.
Right.
To be a barber, you need to do 1,500 hours of education here in the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
So down on the south and west side, anywhere in the city, if you want to open up a barber shop, lots of entrepreneurs are precluded from doing it.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. And what you have to do is understand that sometimes it is literally like running into a wall. And you have to keep running into the wall.
Yeah, trying to
get it done.
Finally get these things passed. So
right.
We have what we call the Fast Five, where the co-host asks 5 questions. Matt?
I'm ready. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Just be true to your ideals and be persistent.
Okay.
Do you love to win or hate to lose?
I would say I more love to win than hate to lose. I also feel that it's really important how you play the game.
Okay. It's a good answer.
Sorry.
That's my favorite question.
Sorry, I went out of the box a little bit there.
No, that's good.
Go ahead.
Who's your biggest hero?
Oh, man. Probably Abraham Lincoln and my dad.
Okay. Why Abraham Lincoln?
All the things that he did, the courageous positions that he took, the stamina that he had, the way he was able to really advocate, and it was tough.
He's a fellow lawyer.
Very tough. I don't know that does it, but yeah.
If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
All right, so I've got 2 sons and a daughter, and they've all got. So I'm gonna have to combine them all because they're the experts on superheroes. So I would say speed and strength.
Okay.
All right, and last is what makes you Chicago?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean,
would Illinois be a better?
No, it's both. I mean, Chicago's a persistent city.
Yeah.
So I've used that word a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
When things are tough, you figure Chicago folks and people in Illinois just put their heads down and they say, we're going to fight through it. And I hope that is, I don't know if that's what makes me Chicago. I think that's what makes our organization Chicago is they're dedicated. Mm-hmm. We have incredible volunteers that are remarkably dedicated to the SBAC, and they bring that sort of dedication, I think, that you see from lots of people in the city and the state.
I think Chicagoans got a lot of grit to them.
Agreed.
So where can people find you, and what would you want to plug?
People can go to sbacil.org. I would plug sbacil.org. I mean, I would say get involved. If you're not happy with the way politics works right now, and if you want to really have a voice, I spent a lot of time before I started all this yelling at the TV. Mm-hmm. The TV didn't yell back. It didn't answer me.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, you get involved in something like this, and you can have your voice heard, and that's critical.
That's great. That's great information. So make sure to tune into our next episode and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening to the Matt Laricy Project. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, follow us on Instagram, and like us on Facebook.